Good Saturday morning to everybody, and welcome to On the Mark with Mark Papa. Along with Mark, I'm Gary Byron. You can check him out on his website. Very easy, frplan.com. That's FR Plan. F as in Frank, R Plan. Well, you're wondering what's FR? His name is Mark. It's not Frank. No. FR Plan stands for Financial Resources Group. That's the company that Mark represents. And you can also give him a phone call. Write this phone number down, because I'm going to tell you, by the end of this show, you're going to want to make the phone call. Here, it's 860-657-8380. Again, it's 860-657-8380. And by the way, if you miss any of the previous shows, no worries. The good thing is Mark's got his own YouTube channel. So head on over to YouTube and then type in the search field Mark Papa. That's MarkPappa. The Mark with a K, and there's 3 P's in Papa. Pappa. 5207. Okay. And by the way, there's also a link to YouTube from the Mark's website that I already gave to you, frplan.com. And Mark, great to see you this morning.
Oh, Gary, top of the morning to you.
It is a top of the morning.
How are you?
Oh, my goodness. Can you believe we're nearly at St. Patty's Day. Top of the morning to you.
Absolutely.
Have my Lucky Charms, and yeah.
I'm so looking forward to it. You know?
Everybody's Irish on St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, I have some Irish in me. It's weird because the name sounds Italian. It's Devaney. But, so everyone's like, is that Italian? I'm like, oh, no, that was Grandma Devaney. Don't know.
That's your mom's side.
She was a strict... Oh, yeah, she was tough.
It's so funny because my mom is also the Irish side and my dad is the Italian side.
Yeah, it's pretty. There's a lot of us like that. It makes for a good mix.
It does, man. We like to eat and drink.
What's interesting is our new office, we're located on 116 Oak Street.
In Glastonbury.
Yeah, so one of the landmarks I tell folks is that we are on the same street as the Irish Club.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I've been
actually,
there.
the sign is right there, right on Oak and Commerce. So everyone's like, oh, I know where you are now. Now I know who the real fun people are, right? I know who the fun ones are.
What is a typical day like for you, Monday through Friday?
It's the great reason I actually went into this industry is because my day is never the same.
Oh, good.
No two people we work with are the same. The market's never the same. The news is never the same. What's on my desk in the morning to deal with is never the same. So it's great. I love it, But I would say it's a pretty steady day of just, getting tasks done, doing things for clients, getting financial, I'm going to do a whole segment on financial planning, by the way. That's going to
when is that?
And how we do it. That'll be upcoming when I'm done.
Okay.
When I'm done with the full checklist.
That's going to be an exciting.
We're going to run through, and I'm going to really blow a hole in a lot of these financial plans that folks have, unfortunately. So stay tuned for that.
Ooh, yeah, that's exciting.
And also, I wanted to mention that you've heard enough of me for now. You've heard enough about me, and I will offer you $100 gift card to Cumberland Farms or any place of your choice. If you have an electric vehicle, and you may want to go to Whole Foods or somewhere like that, whatever your flavor might be, I'm happy to buy that $100 gift card.
$100 gift card to Cumberland Farms. That would last me a full year.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you can get gas at Cumberland Farms.
You can get gas at Cumberland as well.
Coffee? And
I get the coffee there.
Sure.
And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is that on average, the full checklist uncovers $3,291 in benefits that you're owed and you may not be aware of. And that's on a $250,000 household. So that's not a lot of money, relative speaking. And, sometimes we find less, but often we find more. Last episode, we just talked about just the fees, not even the turnover costs, because I forgot to bring that with me. But just the fees alone were almost $10,000 a year in hidden fees that the client wasn't aware of. So imagine what I'll find if, you come down, you not only you get a $100 gift card, but the things that I can help you recover, put back in your pocket, money for your kids, your grandkids, buying your 16-year-old or 17-year-old a car for high school, whatever the case may be.
So not only are there hidden fees, there's just flat out unnecessary fees.
Yes, the hidden fees, and they're unnecessary. And that's what I wanted to bring up today, Gary. I wanted to talk about probably one of the most fee-hogging investments that you can get. There's another famous guy on TV who says he hates annuities. Okay, he's a big advertiser. I think he just His firm is about $12 million, and he's a very famous guy. He's on television all the time.
Yeah, I think I know who you are.
Yeah, we know who he is. And so anyway, he hates these things, okay? And I can understand why. I think he's right, okay? I'm going to agree with him. He's my competition, and I'm totally agreeing with this guy. But anyway, I don't want to say anything bad just yet. But so why don't we talk about it's a product called the variable annuity. So a lot of retirees own these products. They're called variable annuities. And what I do is I sit down with them, and I'm not going to say anything bad about it because sometimes there are some good ones. There are some good products. I don't sell these products, by the way. I look to help people bail out of them 90% of the time, unless it's a really good product and it's best for you and it's a good fit. That's fine. Then you just keep it. Don't worry about it. But I think most of the time I'm going to find situations where these products were sold and they were not the right fit for the client oftentimes, or they were sold based on a premise of some type of guarantee or some roll-up or some fancy-smancy income rider that they're going to have income for life and all that blah, blah nonsense. But I wanted to get into it because, Gary, you mentioned earlier, do people like things sugar-coated or they just want the straight facts?
Want you give it. You know what? You got to give it to people straight. The good, the bad, the ugly. I think you'll gain their respect more. Yeah, and I'm going to sit down with them and I'm going to say, you have this variable annuity, and there is a weird kind of life insurance component to it that I won't get into today, but I will in the meeting. But I do want to talk about what the product's all about, and I'll sit down with them and I'll say, you have all these different what are called sub-accounts. Right. So similar to mutual funds, they're kind of like mutual funds managers, but they're inside the variable annuity. That's what they call a sub-account. And I'll say, well, you have a lot of choices here. You have like 25 or 30 of these investments. And they'll say, yeah. And I said, and it's done pretty well for you. And they'll say, yeah, it has. It's a more conservative investment, but it's done pretty well. And we've made some money. And I'm like, that's awesome. I'm excited that you're able to take advantage of that. And I'll say things like, so, do you have to pay commissions when you trade inside of out of these things? And they're like, we don't really know, but as far as I know, it's free. They give us a certain number of trades every month or every quarter that we can do without being penalized, et cetera. So we get to know the product, and I kind of dig into it, and I'll sit down to them. And they'll say, yeah, and then I'll ask, how long have you owned it? And they'll probably tell me, it's 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Or, well, the guy that sold it to me retired a while ago, but he said this thing was great, so we really like it. We don't want to do anything with it. Now we're just going to sit on it until the time is right, till we need to take money out. And I'm like, awesome, that's great. And then what I'll do is I'll start chatting with them about the fees. And I'll say, just like I did with the money manager fees, I'll pull out my friend Morningstar, okay? And see where it says here, Gary, Exhibit 1? Mm-hmm. And I'll pull this out. And I said, yeah, and you've got a lot of awesome choices in here. And I'll just go through and look at some of the funds and talk about the fees. And I'll ask them, would it be okay if I kind of, talk to you about how they charge you fees on this? And they'll say, yeah, absolutely, sure. And so the first thing I'll do is I'll go in and see where it says Exhibit 1. And then down below here, you see that little 1 and the 2 I marked off for you. I'll say, well, you have a couple different kinds of fees in here. And you see where it says M&E risk percentage right there? So that's 1.3%, okay? And 1.3%, if you look up the definition of mortality and expense, there's a few ways to explain it, but I'm going to explain it in simple terms. The M&E risk is basically the fee the insurance company's charging you in case you die soon or too soon or before the contract is up. So they're charging you that fee. So that's 1.3%. And that's for the death benefit component. I think I'll do an entirely separate show for this. Again, this is high-level stuff. We're going to circle back to these episodes and get into the weeds. Okay. Really get in the weeds. But I want to give the high-level version. And then below where you also see gross expense ratio. See where it says 0.52? Mm-hmm. Okay, so for just this one fund here, this is the S&P 500 Index A fund. Do you see that? Yeah. Okay. Just this one. So to own if all you had was your money in this, because there's other funds in here that are a little bit less or a little bit more. But let's say I picked this as the basic example because everyone knows the S&P 500. And everyone knows, how much do we end up having to pay? Can we get the S&P 500? Isn't it an expensive index, or we can basically get that to next to free? I can show you a way to get it for I think the institutional version is 2.002, which is 2/100ths of 1%. So basically zero, okay? This particular fund is 5.52, so
That's 1/2 of 1%, a little over. Okay. And then you have the M&E of 1.3. So we add up the numbers, and I don't use a calculator for this. I like to use my 5th grade math, right? Total fees are 1.82. That's the base. Okay. Now, Gary, see under Exhibit 1, see this little chart here?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the red
Of course,
version,
people can't. People listening to this can't.
Exactly. People can't. So they need to come meet me so I can help at least dissect this for them and see with their own 2 eyes what's sitting behind the curtain. And what I do is I show them, so this is the S&P 500A through the variable annuity company version. And if you started with $10,000 in 2011, you had some dips, but steady Eddie wins the race. It grew to $30,737. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do.
Well, not a bad return, is it? It's
pretty good.
Put in $10K.
Sure.
Now I've got 30, so that's like 3x my money over 10 years. I guess I'd be pretty happy with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I'd be happy. I'd triple my money in 10 years.
Giddy
That's
up.
awesome, right?
Let's do it.
Now, let's take a look at the actual standard index, the S&P 500. And then without all those fees. Okay.
Make even more.
Your $10,000 grew to
40.
almost $39,809.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which version would you rather
Well,
have?
Standards and Poor then.
Yeah, the S&P 500. So which version would you rather have? Right?
Yep.
That one. So that's $10,000 what? More over that period of time. So imagine, now this is $10,000. Now most people aren't putting 10 grand into these products. They're putting 100,000, 200,000. If you're a whale, you're putting 500,000, right? Now, what would that fee be? Yeah, I don't even want to begin. I didn't even bring my calculator.
I'm a guppy.
I didn't bring my calculator for that, but think about what was left on the table. So what we do is we break this down and we show people exactly what it's costing to be in this into these products. And what's interesting is if you look at the companies this owns, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Tesla, NVIDIA, it's all the same.
Yeah.
All the same stuff. And I'll ask them, so how long have you been with the advisor? And they'll say, well, it's been with a while. And I go, so, yeah, are you aware you could buy these same exact funds without this expensive life insurance fee? And they'll say, well, no, we were never told that. And I said, well, take a look at the difference in what you've made. Why do you think, it's 1.35%?
So you're just eliminating the death benefit portion.
Yeah, you're just eliminating the death benefit because the death benefit is a whole other exercise. And I'll go through and say, well, you started with this amount of money. And let's say someone starts with $100,000, Gary, for simple math. And you do the math times 1.35, they're paying $1,350, right? And now let's say, for example, that product, the market crashes and you die, okay? The insurance company will say, okay, well, we're going to pay your family $20,000, bring you back to 100, okay? So you paid $1,335 for that. And we're going to say is on that $1,335, I'm going to divide that into $20,000. Now, Gary, if I was a life insurance salesman and I came to you and said, hey, Gary, for $1,355 a year, I'm going to give you 20 grand in life insurance. And oh, by the way, the life insurance is also going to be taxable. How quickly would you pull the trigger on my life insurance?
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't. Because for $135 a month, that much a year, you can get probably $200,000-300,000 in term, even at our age.
Yeah.
So is that cheap life insurance or expensive life insurance?
That's way too expensive.
Way too expensive. So then what we'll do is we'll say, oh, but, let's say the 100 is, it goes up a little bit. So you go to 120, and then we'll sit down and say, that's times 1.35. What just happened to the cost of your insurance? It's going to go up, right?
Yeah,
so then we'll take the 120, multiply it, so on and so forth. So we go through the exercise with them a lot slower than being on the radio. You need to see this in black and white and visual, me doing this. But I'll ask him the question. I said, so knowing that you could have bought those, why do you think your advisor didn't give you the funds without the expensive life insurance and sold you the ones with the expensive life insurance?
Because he's probably making money on it himself.
He's making more, and the same if he was charging a 1% fee versus if they're making 1.35% on this product, how much can they pay the advisor to push these products?
Oh, they're gonna pay him a lot.
Can pay him more, and then I'll say, so why do you think that was the case? Because he just wanted to make.
So
money.
what if you hired a fiduciary? Isn't a fiduciary? Don't they say, well, when you make money, I make money? I don't charge you fees. So it's in my best interest to put you in the best portfolio that gets you the best situation to make money, because that's how I'm going to make money too.
Right. So a fiduciary is going to disclose everything, right? They're going to ask you. The first thing I do is tell people how I get paid. The very, very first meeting. It's called the goals meeting. It's 30 minutes, maybe. It usually takes longer because people have questions. But we're not there. We're there to sit down with them. It is a discovery meeting, but at the same time, we're there to talk about goals and figure out, where they want to go and what they want to do. Five simple questions, and we sit down, and then they share their concerns. We're in and out of there in an hour. I gather their documents. We'll ask for their home insurance. We'll ask for their power of attorney. We'll ask for a tax return. And I ask for the statements so I can go to Morningstar and see these kind of things. And when I see that variable annuity, it's very tempting to jump all over that thing, but I don't, because we have to take care of the foundation first. Okay? But knowing what you know about what I just showed you, would you ever buy a variable annuity ever again? Or not that you've ever owned one, but would you ever buy one in considering? And there's all sorts of different variations of the product now. Yes, there's some that might say, well, we'll give you a 10% protection on the downside, but we're going to cap your upside. So if you lose 10%, we'll absorb the losses beyond that. There's all sorts of fancy schmancy products out there. But what people are learning, though, is that even in these products, they are quite expensive. And there's another version of this, Gary. How much time do we have again?
Let me just do a quick ID.
Yeah, do your ID.
Folks, you are listening to On the Mark with Mark Papa. I'm Gary Byron. You can check him out online at www.f, as in Frank, frplan.com. The FR, obviously, an acronym for the Financial Resources. That's who Mark represents, Financial Resources Group. And write this phone number down. You don't have to call right now. I know we're in the midst of something here, but maybe at the end of the show or certainly by early next week, 860-657-8380. 860-657-8380. Please, Mark, continue.
Okay. So another thing with these, and again, going back to the fiduciary, you are bound legally and ethically to always put your client's interest above your own.
Of course.
It's that simple.
I've heard that, yeah.
I don't think it's enough to say our interests aligned, we make money when you make money. I don't think that's enough. I think you need to take many steps further, cover things like power of attorney, cover things like making sure their will and trusts are up to date, making sure their survivor guide's up to date, doing that annual checklist that we do every single year. And when I get into planning, I'll talk to you about looking forward. Not using projections in our financial plans, but actually looking forward and sitting down each and every year, because life changes, to figure out where's the best place to get your income for this year, how much you're going to need, what major events are coming up. So it isn't enough to say, okay, if you're up 1 year and we're up 1 year, great, that's good for us. But if you're down, it's bad for us too. It isn't enough. Okay, there's a lot more to, I think, being a fiduciary, or what I like to call a true advisor. Is checking all these non-financial things as well.
Is a financial advisor and a financial planner the same thing?
I think we all have a little bit different way of doing business. I would say a financial planner probably encompasses a few of those things. There's a lot of good guys out there that I'm aware of that'll do things similar to me. They'll look at the tax returns. They're always looking for ways to help their clients. I don't mess with those guys. I really don't. I know who they are. I know who the good advisors in town are, and I know who the not so good advisors are. And even if they're good, they're not good enough. I'm taking their business. There's no bro code here. You're either on your game or you're losing your client, and because you deserve to.
What about the fear of outliving your savings?
Well, that is a major thing that most people do. And that's why I think, Gary, and that's a great point, a good segue into this next thing, is a lot of people talk about the income rider. I've got an income rider. So they buy this product again, and they say, well, every year we're going to grow at a 6% simple, or, it'll have this thing where at the end of 10 years, your $100,000 will be worth $200,000. Sounds like a good deal, doesn't it?
Sounds really good, yeah.
So
sign me up.
You're still paying that 1.35. You're still paying that 0.52, which is kind of cheap for that, but long story short. And now you're going to pay an extra 0.75% for that 6% roll-up, or 7% roll-up, or a double in 10, whatever it may be. They're going to look, then what they're going to do is it's called an income band. Okay, now that you have your $200,000, they're going to say, well, okay, at 65, I'm going to guarantee you, Gary, 5% of your income balance for life. So instead of, having $100,000, you feel like you're going to have $200,000. I'm going to give you $10,000 a year for as long as you live, and even if you run out of money, we're still going to pay you the $10,000. Okay? Now, that's assuming you don't take out more than the 5% and draw that. There's a lot of...
like a whole life insurance policy, right? That's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
because you can borrow against it and not pay it back, but they'll just deduct that off of your...
Yeah, they take it off your death benefit, right?
Death benefit, right.
So, in order to keep that guarantee, you've got to just take the 5% or whatever that $200,000 is and call it a day. $10,000 a year. Sounds like a good deal, doesn't it?
Sure.
And even if I run out of money, it can go to my wife, and it's going to go on until she dies. Sounds wonderful. And it does sound wonderful, but let's take a look at the guts of this. So you paid 1.35% on that original $100,000 throughout that. So for 10 years, you paid the fee, plus you pay all these other fees. So that's you add up 1.35, 0.52, 0.75. You're paying somewhere around what, 2.5 maybe, whatever. Call it a day, 2.5% to own this thing, and now you get your $10,000 a year for life, which is fine. You're happy with it. But guess where that $10,000 comes from first? You put in $100,000, and whatever that $100,000 grows to, okay, let's say that 100 goes to 160. Okay, $10,000 a year is going to come out. You're paying the insurance company, but guess whose money gets spent first? Yours or the insurance company's?
Mine.
Yours. So you're paying them a fee. You have $160K. Your 100 grew to 160. The income rider's 200. You're getting $5,000 out, but your $10,000 is coming from whose money? Your own.
Yeah.
So for 16 years, you're getting your $10,000 out, right? Maybe with some growth, you're getting out your $10,000. They're charging you all those fees, right? Still, they're getting paid. So that means for, look what's going on. Did you see what's going on here?
Yeah.
So by the time you get into the insurance company's pocket, how old are you going to be? Let's say I start at 65, and I'd say the average income benefit, let's say it even runs 14 years, just given, right?
More probably at least 7.
Yeah, right. So if it went 14 years, I'm 79 before I get, this is, again, hypothetical stuff. I'm 79 years old before I even get into the insurance company's pocket, before I run out of my own money.
The insurance companies are always looking out for themselves.
Well, yeah. But remember, I bought this thing for 10 years at 55, and now I'm 79. I've been paying fees along the way. How much do you think I paid in fees just to own this thing?
A lot.
A lot for that guarantee.
Yeah.
Right. So, again, we don't know if this is your situation. This is a specific example that I was able to put together on a very large variable annuity company, very popular among the broker-dealer channel. I run into them a lot. And, again, I think some people, a lot of advisors set these up with good intentions, because typically during turbulent times in the market. And then, there's other times where I've seen things that just not knowing your client. I had a situation where the client needed to get income in 3 years, and they were sold a product that you needed to hold for 10 years to get the guarantee. Or it had a double the debt benefit, some crazy. But he didn't know that the client needed that money 3 years from now. So how well did he was that a guy that cared about his client, or somebody that just wanted to make a sale?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. We just want to make a sale. But just
so
comparing,
those are the kind of things we want to look at.
When you compare variable annuities and mutual funds, and how do you even do that? I've only got about maybe 2 minutes left. But
well, the main thing is going through, coming in, having us review it, putting in a Morningstar. Let's turn the lights on in a room. Let's see what's working. Let's see what's not working. Let's see where those hidden fees are. Again, I just showed you a lot more than the $3,291 in benefits owed that we find. And that can come in so many different ways. And even if your investments are perfect, what happens if I find out that your roof would have been, if your roof had roof damage, that you would be paying, $10,000 out of pocket. So there's a lot of different ways we can do it. But I would say in the investments is where we really tend to find lots of things that, and it's time for, there's a lot of people out there that have investments that are just old and need an upgrade.
ultimately, what are you recommending as we wrap up? I got about maybe a minute and a half left.
Well, and again, it's all based on the client's needs and what the client wants, and it's not a one-size-fit-all solution, Gary. So we're there. It's kind of like the one-size-fit-all suit. We like to say it's custom. All right, we want to have it tailored. We don't just want to have a couple pins in there. We want to make it fit perfect. So that's how we do it. I mean, and I hate to use that cliche, but it is really we're basically there to design what people want and need, and they tell us exactly what it's going to be, and then we just find the solution for them. It's really simple.
I'll bet when they initially meet with you, especially after maybe they've already had a financial advisor in the past, maybe they're hearing this and going, all right, well, I'll roll the dice with this guy. I'll meet with the guy, and since if there's any obligation, there's no harm, no foul. I'll bet you open their eyes, despite having already worked with somebody else in the field.
Yeah, it's 100% true. And the other part about it, I would say, is we typically get 100% of their money. If that money is accessible to them, and I'm not talking about money they might inherit down the road, they typically give us 100% of the money. And if they don't give us 100%, there's a reason where I have clients that may want to manage their own and tinker in the market on their own and trade on their own. Well, I don't get too involved in that. I'll still, if they ask me about things, I'm not afraid to let them know what my opinion is. But I'd say most clients we have all their money. And the reason why is I can't tell you what's going to happen. For example, your power of attorney may not work with the client at Merrill. I don't know how that's going to work if I don't have your money here. I can't read the fine print. So they end up just basically giving us all their money to manage. And then also because of the tax expertise, we can create so much efficiencies. So it's really how it works. You don't need 5 advisors with me. I can do it all.
All right. Folks, you have been listening to On the Mark with Mark Papa. If you'd like more information, head on over to his website, www.frplan.com. That's F as in Frank, frplan.com. While you're there, you might as well hit the link for his YouTube channel. And once you get there, simply in the search field, type in Mark Papa, MarkPappa 5207. Mark Papa 5207, and you can go back and listen to any of these older episodes or make that consultation. There's no obligation. Sit down and talk with him. He says he's with you for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes initially. 860-657-8380. Once again, it's 860-657-8380. For Mark Papa, I'm Gary Byron. Thank you so much for listening to On the Mark. Until next Saturday morning, have a good one, everybody. So long.